Hello, my name is Jenna Cappuccia, and hopefully, if this records, like I think it is, I am going to be presenting with you today. Excuse me, I'm going to be presenting to you today the visual final project presentation for Group 4, which is comprised of me, Jenna Cappuccia, and Rich Simmerman. We chose to do a feasibility study for Ceraso Industries, which is a local electrical engineering consulting firm here in New Orleans. So before we can answer any questions and look at what we're going to be getting into over the course of this feasibility study, we have to answer the question, who or what is Ceraso Industries? So we know they're an electronics consulting firm, but they offer a wide range of products and services, including printed circuit board design, electronic supply chain management, system assembly, and testing of materials. It's founded by this man on the right side, Michael Ceraso, who is about to graduate from UNO with a bachelor's in engineering. He is in a prestigious engineering organization called IEEE, and he has a vast array of experience that makes him extremely, extremely qualified. We're going to take a look at some of his vast experience right now. On the left side here, we have a project that he worked on with a company called Realty FM, who we're going to be taking a closer look at later. The project that they created together is called Stadia, and it's a device that can attach to certain types of planes, and it will automatically measure the altitude of the plane. So in older plane models, as this yellow one is down here, it doesn't need to have any sort of updated electrical panels inside. All it needs to have is the stadia attached to it, and you'll know what altitude you're going at. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is another project that Ceraso Industries and Michael Ceraso worked on with Realty FM, team on Realty FM, which is a Henley ion mask. So we're going to take a look at this quick video very briefly. All right, so as you can see, it's actually a mask that, using electronics, it captures the particles that you breathe out, which is very, very interesting. And on the right side here, we have a project that he worked on that was actually an emergency ventilator that he built from the ground up. He actually led a group, Ceraso Industries and Michael Ceraso led a group to build an emergency ventilator system, which they dubbed the Lenny Lung. So it's a prototype open source ventilator. As you can see, it's very bare bones, and like the description says, open source, that Ochsner Health System actually challenged them to make at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic when there was a shortage of ventilators. So while some companies suffered during the COVID-19 pandemic, many companies suffered, it actually offered Ceraso Industries a lot of unique opportunities because lots of new science and medical technology was coming out, like the Henley ion mask or the emergency ventilator, and it needed electrical consultants. Now we're moving on to what the feasibility study will actually be looking at now that we know who and what Ceraso Industries is. The feasibility study will be measuring, can an electronics firm the size of Ceraso Industries, which is just one person, Michael Ceraso does it all, will it be profitable if it continues to stay in the New Orleans/Gulf Coast region? And if so, how? So the first part to answering that question is to think about, what is the Gulf Coast? Britannica defines the Gulf Coast as a geographic area in the shape of a flattened U that extends along 1,200 miles running north-northwest along Florida, west among South Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, and southwest and south along with southeastern Texas. So 1,200 miles is a large area of land. And since Ceraso Industries is centered in New Orleans, as you can see from this map, New Orleans would be right at the center of the Gulf, at the Gulf Coast region. It's about midpoint between the southern cities of Texas, like Galveston and Corpus Christi, and the southern cities of Florida, like St. Petersburg. And you can see that there were a list of major cities here. The Gulf Coast region does not have a shortage of metropolitan areas and cities, which most likely have design firms of their own, which will need an electrical consultant like Ceraso Industries. So there is plenty of opportunity for industry and economic opportunity here in the Gulf Coast. Next, this is a question that Michael Ceraso asked for Rich and I to answer over the course of the feasibility study, which was how do innovation centers like Real DFM, Factor 10, Scale Workspace, Entergy Keystring Labs, and others affect the growth and stability of Ceraso Industries? Those 4 companies that are named are all companies that have been customers of Ceraso Industries, and so he wanted to know whether they have a positive or negative impact on his business. As we can see from this chart here, I have Real DFM, Factor 10, and Scale Workspace on the left side, and Entergy's Keystring Labs, because Keystring Labs is a division of Entergy, on the right side. The reason these groups are separated is because the 3 on the left are consumer customers, and the one on the right is an industrial customer. The way these are different is a consumer customer makes products that are made in high volumes and are relatively cheap to produce. And they're not too complicated to produce either, which means that the employment terms are shorter term. It's not a complicated circuit board you need to make. Ceraso Industries would be employed for a short term and then out. In an industrial customer, the products are made in smaller quantities, but they're very, very complex and expensive to make, which means that Ceraso Industries would be hired for longer periods of time and would most likely get paid more money for these opportunities. However, with consumer customers, the ones on the left, it's a symbiotic relationship because since these companies are smaller, and they're straight to consumers, they can post and brag to potential clients of theirs that they have an experienced electrical engineer on their team. And that not only gets the companies like Real DFM and Factor 10 more business, but it gives Michael Ceraso and Ceraso Industries more business as well. On the other hand, Entergy Keystring Labs, those are huge names. They don't necessarily benefit by having an electrical engineer, just having that title on their team. So that's why I labeled it as a commensal relationship where Michael Ceraso benefits by the influx of money and the experience he gets, but Keystring Labs sort of stays the same. Okay, now that we know what kind of contracts that Ceraso Industries has had in the past with Real DFM, Factor 10, etc., what contracts should Ceraso Industries seek in the future? And how are we going to decide that? Well, first, let's look at some quick financial reports that start in July of 2020. I'm sorry if you can't see that. July of 2020 and end in April of 2021. According to that, the main contract areas were in design, 4 contracts, assembly, 11 contracts, testing, 3 contracts, consulting, 2 contracts, and phase 2 was 1 contract for a total of 22 contracts. It's also important as we decide what kind of contracts Ceraso Industries should be going for. We should look at similar companies in the area who could also be possible customers because they'll give us an idea of where Ceraso Industries could be heading and also what their competitors could look like. So Ritter Consulting Engineers is a company here based in Louisiana. They also do electrical engineering and they make $705,288 in yearly sales approximately, and they sustain 6 employees, which is important because Ceraso Industries just has the one person, the founder, Michael Ceraso, working for them, and sustaining 6 employees is no easy feat. They have important contracts with Delgado Community College, which If you're in the New Orleans area and you go to Loyola, you probably know of Delgado and Pine Prairie Correctional Facility. So definitely nothing to scoff at, and things that definitely impact our lives as university students. There's also Welcon Electrical Consultants, which is another electrical engineering firm, but they also do a lot of design work. It's focused in Mississippi, Arkansas, Florida, Texas, Louisiana. Even though it's centered in Gulfport, Mississippi, it spreads all over the Gulf Coast region, which is really what Ceraso Industries is attempting to do. They have revenue of $1 million, which is very impressive since they've only been around for 13 years, which is relatively short in the age of a business like this. And during an interview that we conducted with the founder, Greg Wirestick of Welcon Electrical Consultants, he told us that one of the factors to his success was working with small businesses. He said, while we face challenges from corporate competitors, such as Gulf Engineering, which is a big company, we've prioritized relationship building with small businesses throughout our region, and that's allowed us to continuously grow since our inception in 2008. So from this, we can decide that the target markets, the areas that Ceraso Industries should be working in are for electronic development firms, for product development firms, microengineering firms, small businesses, and municipal governments. By looking at all the information that we just looked at, the type of contracts he's had in the past, and what similar businesses do, this is what we have decided. But how exactly are they going to target those markets that we've decided that Ceraso Industries should go after? Redesigning their website is one of the most important things. If we take a look very quickly, we will see there's not much to look at here. We have a picture, we have a couple of words, and that's it. There's nothing else to really look at. So adding more information, maybe adding more description or pictures of what the company has done would be a good idea. Clearly defining his service area and connecting with more people on LinkedIn is a great idea, as well as creating a Yelp business profile, because lots of similar businesses connect and get business on Yelp. And maybe the most important thing is creating an in-depth digital marketing plan, because as we know, in today's day and age, social media is a great tool for advertising. And so far, Ceraso Industries has not utilized that tool at all. So if we can create a digital marketing plan for them, which includes social media marketing for smaller projects, examples of that, and also how to use Yelp small business ads, that would be ideal and a great way for them to target the markets that they're trying to get into. This is an example I pulled together of social media marketing they could do. There's 2 quick slides. As you can see in the corners here, it links to their website and their other social media pages. It just gives a quick description of what they do, who they are, gives you a tagline, and it's done in an aesthetically pleasing way. And because there's movement to it, hopefully it will catch the eye of just an average person who is glancing through social media. Now we're going to be looking at all the fun numbers, the revenue model, and financial information that will let us know whether it is financially possible for Ceraso Industries to be profitable in the Gulf Coast region. So based on this revenue model, which again is using the revenue reports that span from June 2020 to April 2021, we see a breakdown of how much each service earned Ceraso Industries. So assembly, which was 11 contracts, their most popular customer, Real DFM, was about $5,439. We can see from this chart that their most popular customer in all of the services is Real DFM, which we talked a little bit about before. They have a great working relationship, and the total amount earned throughout this June through April period was $13,773.37. So that's about $1,377 a month. And if we use these numbers to estimate how much Ceraso Industries will make for the entire fiscal year, so June 2020 to June 2021, it would be about $16,524. Now we're answering the question, how much would Ceraso Industries need to make for it to become Mr. Ceraso's primary source of income. For this, we looked to the Small Business Administration to get specific numbers to compare to that of Ceraso Industries. So according to the 2018 Louisiana Small Business Administration profile, the median income for individuals who are self-employed at their own business for the last 12 months, so I guess from 2017 to 2018, would be $47,067. That is the median income. In order for Mr. Ceraso and Ceraso Industries, in order for Mr. Ceraso to make a salary of that much money, he would need to make an additional $30,543 on what he's already made from the June 2020 to April 2021 period. And if he made this much money, it would just be going towards salary. That does not include what any other money he's putting back into the business. So if he wants to get more supplies, more tools, upgrade any of his equipment, that would be an additional expense, and that would take away from his salary. In conclusion, we can determine that while right now Ceraso Industries is not profitable by Mr. Ceraso's standards, the feasibility that we've done by looking at all of the different companies in the area, and since Ceraso Industries is only a year old, we can determine that if Ceraso Industries does the following things, they can become profitable. The following things include build relationships with local small businesses like Greg Wyristick, the founder of Wellcon, said, excuse me, sorry, I was looking at the other slide. The founder of Wellcon said small businesses really help to foster his business. If Ceraso Industries focuses on services that currently have the most demand for his company, which as we saw were assembly and testing, that's where he has the most amount of contracts and where he's made the most amount of money. If he starts working on social media advertisements and creates that digital marketing portfolio, and increases his connections on LinkedIn, we think that Ceraso Industries will be able to be profitable in the Gulf Coast region. The Gulf Coast region is very large, and Ceraso Industries has the reach and the talent to be profitable. This concludes the presentation. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, thank you.